Well, howdy partners, it's your old buddy the Reddit Rider, and welcome back to the Reddit Ranch. Why don't y'all come in and sit a spell, 'cause I got some mighty fine tales to tell. Like our first story. It was written by a soon-to-be bride who's planning to get married in Hawaii, and her soon-to-be mother-in-law is doing everything in her power to prevent it. Hawaii you say? If your mother-in-law won't come, I will.
I am regretting my wedding, and it's all because of her. My fiancé and I have been together for years and are finally getting married. It's what I've always wanted, and after he proposed, I was over the moon excited to be planning our wedding. We decided on a June 2024 date in Hawaii. We wanted a small ceremony with only our closest friends and family in attendance. Ever since we sent our save the dates, his mom has been unhinged. She was very upset when we told her we wanted to get married in Hawaii instead of locally. She made comments like, "How will I invite my friends? And no one who I want to be there will be able to go." We told her we only wanted a small group of people there. We only planned to invite family members that we actually talk to and are close with. She was highly offended by this. She told us we should be inviting everyone and that it didn't matter if we didn't talk to them. Family is family. And she even went so far to make the comment that our wedding is about the family and not about what we want. This really upset me. I think she expected us to give in to her, but we didn't. A few weeks later, I get a call from our wedding planner. She said she had got a bizarre phone call from someone trying to cancel our wedding venue. She gave me the phone number, and sure enough, it was my soon-to-be mother-in-law who called her. This really set me off. My fiancé and I confronted her, and she denied the entire thing. She told us it had probably been another family member who was upset that they weren't invited. We knew this was a lie. She then continued to tell us that everyone was furious at us for only inviting certain people to the ceremony. She called my fiancé selfish for not thinking about other people's feelings. I know she's the one instigating all this drama and riling everyone up for her own selfish reasons. My fiancé is really upset because his family is all turning against him instead of being happy for him and respecting his decision. They are all trying to convince him to have another wedding here for her. But we don't want to have to plan and pay for 2 weddings. And we definitely don't want all of these random people we don't know in attendance. It's not what we want at all. This is among many other things she has done and said to try and get her way. I don't know what to do. We talked about canceling the entire thing and just eloping. But many of my family members have already purchased their plane tickets and booked their Airbnbs. A lot of them are non-refundable. I also don't want to give in to her by not doing anything at all. I was so excited for our wedding, but now every time I think about it I feel sad and just angry. I want it to be what my fiancé and I want. I don't want to give in to other people's demands for our big day. Is that selfish of me to think that we should be happy on our wedding day?
Well ma'am, to start with, congrats on your upcoming nuptials. When it comes to your wedding, remember, there are only 2 people that truly matter at a wedding, and that is the bride and groom. Well, I reckon the priest is kinda important too. Anyway, it's yours and your husband's day, and you can run it any way you 2 agree to. It's not your mother-in-law's choice. Besides, there is one thing she overlooked. Say you did change your mind and had it locally. Whoever said her friends were invited to begin with, and if they were to come, who's gonna pay for them? I mean, dinner can be costly if you get charged per head, especially if it's for a bunch of strangers. Well now, there is nothing like an entitled mother-in-law to really bring a wedding together. Anyway partners, what are your thoughts on this story? Did any of you have a destination wedding? And if so, how'd it go? Please, share with the class in the comments. Next we have one posted by a tenderfoot that wants to know if he's done wrong by not inviting his kids from his first marriage to his award ceremony. Well now, I reckon he's not receiving a Father of the Year award.
AITA for not inviting my kids from my first marriage to my award ceremony? I'm 53, and I want to be honest, I was a wreck of a person during my first marriage, which lasted 14 years. My first wife Amy and I were 22 when we married. I had dropped out of college to start a business. The business did miserably, and I had already had issues stemming from the aftereffects of my horrid mother. I entered a cycle of self-sabotage. Amy always wanted to become a speech-language pathologist, and when we were dating I talked about my plan to make enough to put her through the required master's program by the time we were in our late 20s, so I felt like a failure for not being able to do that and distanced myself from her. I was left taking care of our daughters, who's now 29 and 27, while my wife dealt with debts incurred due to me personally guaranteeing business loans and using my credit cards to pay expenses at the end. I had developed a few bad habits, so I had to go to rehab several times, and Amy resented me and constantly complained about her struggles finding a well-paying job with a communications degree. I finally got a minimum wage job, hated it, and was so depressed that I took the money from my paycheck and put down a deposit on an apartment 2 states away. Amy divorced me, and I lost contact with the kids. That was when I hit rock bottom and woke up. I stopped the sick self-fulfilling prophecy loop I was in. I got a degree, started another business. I am now married to my second wife Dina, who's 26, 3 years ago, and we have a 2-year-old son. However, even though me and my 2 other kids are in more constant communication, talking with them brings up very unpleasant memories and I can feel the resentment. I told Dina that therapy with them felt counterproductive, and she said since I apologized I had to just leave the ball in their court about whether they would accept or not, and if they don't see my sincerity then that's their issue. So my relationship with them is at a civil point. I try to make it up by being the best dad to our son and working hard so he'll never have to struggle for money or opportunities in life. Dina was fine with them coming to the wedding, but it seemed strange to broach it. Now I'm getting an award by a professional organization and all honorees can get their guests into the event for free, as long as you RSVP them. My 2 other kids know about this event. Amy apparently knows I have the opportunity of inviting them and allegedly encouraged them to ask. I got a text from one of them where they were hinting at being there to support me, saying despite our differences, we are proud of you and hope we are able to celebrate important life events with you from now on. It took me a while to respond properly, and I just accepted the congratulations and said I was grateful for the recognition. But the next time I talked to one of them they were icy and seemed disappointed. It is too late to RSVP now, but apparently Amy had to chime in and say I should have taken the initiative to invite them. AITA?
Well partner, I hate to burst your bubble, but you are the varmint in this here story. You should have at least invited them. If seeing them or talking to them brings up bad memories, then too bad. You're their dad, you take those bad memories, and shove them down deep. You also mentioned their resentment of you? That could be just in your head. I mean, if they truly resented you, then they probably wouldn't have wanted to come at all. Remember, all the bad memories and resentment you mentioned is all on you. To cut them out of stuff like this is like punishing them for crimes they didn't commit. Well partners, do y'all think he was in the right, or is he just completely clueless? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Our next story was written by a little lady who only got married because she was with child, and now she finds out her dear old hubby is messing around with other fillies, and she doesn't know what to do about it. Really? Does her next course of action seem obvious to anyone else?
My husband messed around on me, and now I don't know what to do because I have nothing. My husband and I are both 27, and we have been married for 7 years. We weren't close, but we were in the same group of friends in college. We ended up having fun one night and I got pregnant. My husband said that he would take care of the baby, but my parents forced me to get married and he accepted. My husband and I at that time went to live with my in-laws. They were not so nice to me. I had to leave university because I had to help at home with the chores. My husband worked and studied at the same time. With my husband, after we felt comfortable with each other, we started treating each other like husband and wife. calling each other honey, love and things like that. I was stupid and got pregnant quickly again. After so much trouble with his parents, we went to live in a small apartment. Now, I have a 7-year-old girl and a 6-year-old boy. My husband has a good job and earns quite well. We are living in a large apartment, but we're planning to move into a house early next year. Intimacy with my husband has been dead for almost a year and a half since he arrives late and or very tired from work. Besides, about 6 months ago he was promoted at work, and he has to travel from time to time. He left his Facebook open on his laptop, and I checked it, and he has been messing around with a coworker. I don't know for how long exactly, since he only has conversations from about 3 weeks ago, so I guess he deletes the conversations. I sent the evidence to my email, and that night I told him. I also told my husband that if he wanted to be with someone else, why he didn't just ask me for a divorce. My husband started making meaningless excuses, and he ended up saying that he didn't want to separate, that he didn't want to lose his family. He said this was happening for 2 years. I told him that this was something he had to think about before being unfaithful, and that I wanted a divorce. We haven't talked since. That was a week and a half ago. He is avoiding me from bringing up the topic of divorce or him messing around, I guess. But I think that now I am regretting the divorce, because if we separate I have nothing. I have no university studies. I have never worked, so my work experience is zero. I have savings that are left over from my monthly expenses, but it is not much even though I manage correctly. Should I go ahead with the divorce? My children are in school now, so there are more expenses to cover. I can't complain about my husband in this regard. Technically, the only problem is that he was unfaithful. Besides, I think I really understand, because we wouldn't be together if it weren't for me getting pregnant. And the fact that we behave like husband and wife does not make the fact that he has to love me or cherish me as anything more than the mother of his children. The only thing I don't understand is why he doesn't want a divorce. What I do? Do I suggest some kind of co-parenting relationship or something? I guess he doesn't want to have to spend less time with the kids or something.
Ma'am, not only should you divorce this varmint, but you should never have married him to begin with. Just because y'all were having a younging is the worst reason to get hitched. The only true reason to marry someone is because you love them, and it sounds like you two never did. You said that the only problem is that he messed around on you? Well now, that's a mighty big problem. In fact, I plumb reckon that is like the ultimate betrayal. After that happens, there is no more trust. A relationship with no trust is no relationship at all. Someone that messes around on their partner doesn't truly care about anyone but themselves. As for the financial stuff, don't forget, there is child support and even alimony that you can get from him. I reckon you should consult a lawyer. Well now partners, what do y'all think she should do? Do you know anyone that got married just because they were having a younging? Let me know down in their comments. Our last story today was posted by a Gramps that thinks family is only family if it's connected by blood.
AITA for telling my son he shouldn't have given away my granddaughter's gift. Usual disclaimers apply. Sorry this is long. I'm 49, and I will be the first to admit I'm not a perfect father, but I've tried my hardest to do right by my son, who's 23. It's just been the two of us since he was very young, and I've always tried to instill in him the value of hard work and making the best of yourself. So I was incredibly proud when he got a place at a prestigious university, Russell Group, to study aerospace engineering. At uni, he met Susie, who's 24, who had a daughter, who was 3 at the time, now 8, Bonnie. Her having a kid so young, with the father out of the picture, raised a lot of red flags for me even after meeting her, so I was honest with my son. She was clearly looking for a dad for her kid first and foremost, and he'd be putting his future at risk by taking that role. He told me he wanted to step up and help raise this girl anyway, because he loved her and he loved Susie, and wouldn't hear anything to the contrary. Well, long story short, he dropped out after 1 year of uni with something like £14,000 in student debt, last I checked, but that was a few years ago, and moved in with Susie and is now working a dead-end data entry job, while playing daddy to someone else's kid. We still talk occasionally, but things have become tense between us. He's noticed I don't have any interest or affection for his partner or Bonnie, and we've fought on and off over it a few times. Which brings me to 2 months ago, when my son called me to let me know that I had a grandkid. Apparently, he and Susie decided not to tell anyone except people who had to know and close family, which really means her family, apparently, until the kid was born. I'll admit, that hurt a lot, but I swallowed my pride and sent them a card along with a couple of books, one a baby book and the other a nice edition of a storybook I hoped my granddaughter would get to enjoy once she was older. A few days later, they made a Facebook post to announce the kid publicly, and in one of the photos, Bonnie had the second book I'd sent. I messaged my son asking why he'd given something that was meant to be my grandkid's special thing to Susie's kid instead, and he told me that Bonnie's noticed I don't send her things for birthdays etc., that she felt left out when her sister got gifts and she didn't, and that it's one of her favorite books. He said his other daughter is too young to know it was meant for her. I said that Bonnie isn't even his daughter, and he needs to accept that I don't owe anything to someone else's kid. It turned into this huge fight, and I got a long message, signed by both him and Susie, saying I wasn't going to have any more contact with my granddaughter till I accept the fact that Susie and Bonnie are family too. I've complained about all this to my work friends and gotten mixed reactions. Some say I'm in the right, but I've also been told by more than a few that I'm an AH for rejecting this kid. So, am I?
Sorry to shatter your opinion of yourself, partner, but you're a varmint in this story. In fact, calling you a varmint is an insult to varmints everywhere. Sometimes, being a family should not begin and end with bloodlines. Your son loves Susie, and he considers Bonnie to be his daughter just as much as his biological kid. It doesn't even sound like you gave them a chance, or even tried to get to know them. All your son did was give the book to his eldest daughter, someone who can truly appreciate it. If you want a relationship with your son, then you better suck it up, Buttercup. Because, as it stands right now, you stand to lose contact with your son, and both your grandkids. Well now partners, what in tarnation do y'all reckon is wrong with this guy? Do y'all agree with him, or do you think he needs to wake up and smell the coffee before he loses his son? Please, tell me what y'all think down below. Well partners, I do plumb reckon that it's time for this good old boy to ride off into the sunset. But if y'all enjoyed y'all's time at the Reddit Ranch, then I'd thank y'all kindly to hit like and subscribe. It'll really make this old cowboy smile. Until the next time we meet, adios.